What's up guys, I'm back with another video on workout splits. Today I'm gonna talk about rest times. Why do you need to rest in between your sets? For how long? How should you treat unilateral sets compared to bilateral sets? Should you do supersets? And I'm also gonna disprove a counter argument. Okay, so first of all, why do you need to rest in between sets? Why can't you just do a set and then do another set right after? This is going to be because you're fatigued in your muscles as well as in your central nervous system, which is going to lead to a decrease in motor unit recruitment, which means you're pretty much going to be able to train your muscles worse than if you were rested in between sets. So yeah, that's why you can't just do a set and then do another one straight after. So how long should you rest, in my opinion? This is going to depend on the exercise that you're doing. So for example, how hard an exercise is. If you're gonna compare a barbell back squat to a unilateral bicep curl, it's obviously very different in terms of how hard that exercise is. Um, and for harder exercises, you're gonna wanna rest longer. So for squats, I personally rest for around 4 or 5 minutes in between sets. That's only actual working sets. I don't rest in between warm-ups because that's obviously not needed. Your warm-up shouldn't even be hard, honestly, unless you're warming up for a PR or something. Um, and for an easier exercise like a bicep curl or any isolated exercise, you could rest for around 2 to 3 minutes in between sets. It's not gonna be very taxing or very fatiguing to do an isolation exercise, since you're not using a lot of muscle at once. Um, and regarding unilateral sets, which means you're training your left side, how long should you be resting before you're training your right side? I would rest for around 15 seconds at least, or at the very least, up to a minute, again, depending on how hard an exercise is. This is going to depend on how complicating you allow your training to be. So if you want your training to be very simple, you could just stick to a few breaths, 15 seconds, and then do the other side. If you want to maximize that second set or the other side, you will probably be better off resting for 1 or 2 minutes, since your nervous system is going to be recovered for that second set. Um, yeah, as I said, warm-up sets, you're not going to be training very hard on your warm-up sets. You could just go from one warm-up set to another, to the next, to the next, to the next. You're not going to be fatiguing yourself that much anyway. You shouldn't be out of breath either, so that's also going to be fine. Um, Something else to note is that warm-up time, whoa, rest times aren't gonna make a huge difference for performance, since you'll always be able to push yourself pretty hard at least. It's definitely gonna be worse if you don't rest at all compared to taking a proper amount of rest, but it's not gonna make a huge difference. Something else to note is that supersets um, have the same effect as not resting, since for a superset, which is training multiple or doing multiple sets of two different exercises back to back, you're not gonna allow your CNS to recover, which even if you're doing a biceps and then triceps superset, sure, your muscles aren't gonna be fatigued, but your central nervous system will be fatigued for the other set if you don't rest. So supersets are still okay if you want to save time, of course, but they're not going to be ideal. So you should just be doing straight sets and resting properly in between each set if you want to maximize muscle growth. Lastly, some people are saying it's going to take too long. I heard someone say, or my brother was at the gym and he said he heard a guy have 9 minutes or 9 sets, of an exercise, and my brother asked him why he wasn't resting for 3 minutes in between each set. And he said that would take way too long because 9 sets, 3 minutes of rest, it's gonna take around half an hour, including the sets themselves. And the counter argument for that is gonna be that you're probably doing way too many sets already. You should never do 9 sets of an exercise. Diminishing returns are a lot steeper than people think, which pretty much means that people think a 6th, 7th, up to 10 sets of an exercise or of a muscle in a workout are all gonna give them more and more and more muscle growth, when in reality, sometimes it doesn't give them any more muscle growth, and a lot of the times it's just a very, very small amount of muscle growth that they gain because you've already done 5 good sets for that muscle in the workout. So if you think it's gonna take too long, you're probably doing too many sets. I personally do around 1 to 2 sets per exercise. And in most cases, you should only do, or you should usually do 1 or 2 sets per exercise, and sometimes 3 sets per exercise, but there's just no need to do a lot of sets. That's not going to give you any more results. So just do lower or mid to low volume, around 6 to 12 sets per week, and you should be good, and just rest properly in between those sets so that you actually have high quality sets instead of a lot of sets with that all aren't going to be perfect, because that would also just be wasting time and energy. So that's pretty much everything I have to say regarding warm-up sets. I hope you learned something. Subscribe if you want to, and I'm gonna make more videos tomorrow and the day after. So subscribe and turn on notifications if you don't want to miss those. Bye.